Your life begins to change the very second you decide and you refuse to go back.
Have you ever stopped to think how many times your life would have changed if you had simply decided faster? How many opportunities have died in front of you because you hesitated for fear of making mistakes? The truth is harsh but liberating. Most people aren't failing because of a lack of ability. They're failing because of too much doubt. And you know what's cruelest? It's just that while you're there thinking, evaluating, waiting for the right moment, someone less prepared than you has already decided and has already started to win. That's right. In the real world, whoever moves wins. Not who knows more, not who has the most talent, but who has the courage to act when clarity appears. Napoleon Hill left no room for interpretation. Quick and definitive decisions are characteristic of all who accumulate great wealth. That's not catchphrase, it's behavioral science. The universe rewards speed with synchronicity, but the majority live stuck, feeding fear with indecision, abundance with delay, and manifestation with stagnation. And here's a controversial statement. Indecision is more destructive than failure, because failure teaches, but doubt sucks you in until you forget who you are. While you put it off, life passes by and success passes with her. But there is an art behind every decision that transforms. An art that few master, but that everyone can learn. And if you stay until the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to activate this power within you. You will understand what separates those who just want from those who achieve with strength, direction, and courage. In fact, if you value this type of content and feel like you need it in your life, take advantage and subscribe to the channel now. This is very important so that YouTube can continue to deliver videos like this to you, and so that this channel can continue to grow and help more people like you unlock their own power. Now, get ready, because from here, what you hear can not only provoke you, but transform you. There is a moment in life when the universe stops whispering and starts screaming. It's when you feel that, if you don't decide now, you'll spend another year living the same story, with the same fear, with the same excuses. And it is at this exact point that your destiny is defined. Not when you learn something new, but when you decide that you will never accept less than you deserve. Napoleon Hill called this the spark of transformation. A single true decision has the power to break cycles of years. And that's not metaphor, it's spiritual mathematics. Because the universe does not respond to vague desires, but to non-negotiable choices. Have you ever noticed that every extraordinary life begins with a breakup? No one gets rich, manifests abundance, or transforms their reality expecting to be 100% ready. Whoever decides causes the invisible. It's as if you hit the table and said, "I no longer accept living in fear." This vibration changes everything. The paths adjust. Opportunities, previously hidden, begin to emerge. This is where positive thinking becomes a weapon, not just a comfort. Because deciding is not rational, it is energetic. And when you vibrate like someone determined, reality obeys. But here's the truth that almost no one has the courage to say. Those who don't decide have already decided. He decided to stay where he is, decided to live by inherited limiting beliefs. He decided to accept a destiny he never chose. This is more dangerous than making a mistake. Because while error teaches, indecision rots silently. Napoleon Hill states it clearly. The greatest thief of dreams is not failure, it is unfaced doubt. And this is exactly what stops so many people from experiencing their own miracle. The power of the mind needs direction, otherwise it becomes a maze. There is a hidden strength within every firm decision, and she is brutal. When you truly say yes to something, all the previous no's lose their weight. You stop being a slave to fear, scarcity, and the opinions of others. He begins to walk more upright, speak more firmly, breathe differently. The decision causes an instant reprogramming in the mind. You are no longer testing, you are committed. And that is where self-discipline, personal development, real self-improvement are born. Not as theory, but as daily practice. Do you want proof of this? Look at anyone who has changed their life drastically. She was no more lucky, she just decided. Like Elon Musk, who put all the money from the sale of PayPal into companies that could go bankrupt. Or Oprah, who chose to ignore everything they said about her appearance, her origins, her history. These people didn't wait for certainty, They were certainty. Because when motivation comes from the heart, there is no obstacle that can stop it, and personal growth begins the very moment you say, I refuse to continue as I am. But deciding is an act of war against the old self. It is necessary to kill the version that still asks for permission to be happy. And this execution is painful, because it involves giving up false security. It involves facing the mirror and saying, I was my biggest saboteur. And at the same time, it's liberating, because from that moment on, you stop living by accident and start living by intention. Your mind begins to align with powerful affirmations. You stop doubting. You stop putting it off. You simply transforms. And that is the beginning of real mental reprogramming. Now, listen to this carefully. Every big decision will trigger your deepest fears. They will scream. They will try to paralyze you. They will come up with all the most convincing excuses. But what if I told you that indecision is the secret food of these fears? That the simple act of hesitating is already a manifestation of failure? The question that no one has asked you until now is, how many opportunities have you let die just because you took too long to decide? Indecision is an invisible prison. She doesn't scream in your face, she whispers. It says, wait, a little longer. Think about it, then it's not the right time. And meanwhile, the days go by. Dreams lose color, the mind weakens, the heart hardens. And the fear? It grows smiling, fueled by every second of doubt you allow. Napoleon Hill was categorical. Fear is a mental creation sustained by a lack of decision, and the longer you put it off, the more it gets stronger. Indecision is like a noose around your neck. The longer you take to act, the tighter it tightens. People don't crash because they are weak. They get stuck because they haven't decided whether to fight or flee. And this lack of choice is devastating. It's like being at a fork in the road and spending your life waiting for the road to move on its own. The mind starts imagining all the worst-case scenarios. Start seeking approval. Start making excuses. The power of the mind becomes a poison when it has no direction. And all of this has a price, your freedom. Because those who don't decide hand the key to their life into the hands of chance. There is a silent phenomenon that happens inside the human brain when you avoid deciding. It starts to create panic where there is no real danger. Cells react to negative thinking as if it were absolute truth. And little by little, the body responds with anxiety, tiredness, insomnia, sabotage. All this because you didn't say yes or no. And this emotional limbo is the perfect soil for limiting beliefs to multiply. This is how people who have the potential to become rich begin to convince themselves that they were not born for it. And worse, you start to believe that there is no way out. The indecisive mind is a minefield. Every step feels dangerous, every move feels risky, every choice feels wrong. And time passes. And with it, the chance to manifest a new cycle goes away. This is where negative thinking becomes dominant. Doubt becomes routine. Procrastination disguises itself as planning. And self-help turns into passive consumption of content without real application. The person thinks they are learning, but in reality, they are hiding behind the fear of acting. This is more common than it seems, and also more destructive. You too. Know that feeling that nothing is going right? Why are you stuck in a never-ending cycle? This is often not bad luck. It's just a reflection of decisions that weren't made. When you avoid deciding, the universe interprets it as, everything is fine the way it is, and he starts sending you more of the same. More scarcity, more limitations, more paralysis. This isn't punishment, it's a consequence. Manifestation is energetic response, and if your energy is indecision, life cannot offer you clarity. But what if today was the day to break this pattern? The truth is brutal. Indecision does not protect you from making mistakes. It just makes sure you stay stuck. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're being held hostage by a fear you've fueled yourself. And maybe no one has told you that clearly. Maybe everyone around you is trapped in the same illusion. But there is a way out. It begins when you view indecision as a parasite that consumes your deepest dreams and decides to rip it up by the roots. The first step is the hardest, but it is also the most freeing. And this is where something magical starts to happen. When you finally choose, the fear doesn't go away, but it shrinks. Because now, there is clarity, there is a direction, there is movement, and movement heals. The mind needs this to function well, and what once seemed impossible starts to seem accessible, because all fear needed to dominate you was a fertile field of uncertainty. And now that you've cut the root of doubt, the question that begins to echo deep in your consciousness is how to make decisions clearly, even in the midst of chaos. Clarity is not something you find, it is something you build. It is a state of mind that is born from the courage to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Most people want to decide with confidence, but they don't want to. Look at what they're feeling in the face. They want certainty, but avoid asking the questions that really matter. For example, what am I trying to protect by postponing this choice? Or, if nothing changed, would I endure another year like this? These questions are not easy, but they are liberating, and only those who have the courage to face themselves can activate the true power of the mind. One powerful strategy is raw writing. Take a paper and write without filter everything you feel about the decision you need to make. Not to post, not to show anyone. Just to take the weight off your mind and put light in what's dark. Because as long as chaos is within, clarity will not emerge. It's like trying to see the bottom of a lake while throwing rocks into the water. By writing, you silence the confusion and begin to hear your truth. Napoleon Hill would say that this is the first step in mental reprogramming, giving shape to your thoughts before they dominate you. Another brutally effective tool is contrast. If you don't know what you want, start by eliminating what you don't want. This seems simple, but it is transformative. List what you no longer accept. Empty relationships, debts that accumulate, projects that drain you. When you define what is non-negotiable, your mind begins to see more clearly what is desirable. And this clarity generates motivation, generates direction, generates momentum. Positive thinking alone won't solve it, but when combined with contrast, it becomes fuel for firm decisions. There is also a little-known but extremely effective method, the 3 versions test. Imagine 3 versions of yourself. One that decides now, another that postpones, and a third that never decides. Visualize each of these versions living through the next 5 years. Which one has a sparkle in her eyes? Which one has abundance? Who grows old with regret? This exercise, when done with brutal honesty, reveals the raw truth you try to hide from yourself. He clearly shows that the scariest decision is often also the most freeing. If your mind is still clouded, there is an almost magical trick, reducing the choice to the next step. Instead of asking, how am I going to quit my job and start a business? Ask, what's the next move I can make in 24 hours? This takes the weight off the impossible and triggers self-discipline. It could be downloading an ebook, scheduling a conversation, resigning from a client that consumes you. Small steps light the way like torches in the dark, because movement generates clarity. And where there is clarity, there is power. And where there is power, there is decision. Remember, your brain wants to protect you, not boost you. He will always try to keep you safe, even if it means living a mediocre life. So, to decide clearly, you need to hack this schedule. Need to rewrite the narrative. Repeat affirmations that activate your success mindset. Phrases like, I choose what brings me closer to the best version of myself, or my decisions shape my reality. Said every day, with conviction. This is not mysticism, it is practical neurology. You start to think like someone who has already won. And when that clarity begins to emerge, something powerful reveals itself. You realize you are being guided by something beyond logic. There is a silent strength, a subtle impression in your chest that seems to know the answer before the rational mind even understands it. This has a name, and understanding how to differentiate it from a simple impulse could be the key to making wiser decisions than you ever imagined. Find out how to differentiate intuition from impulse. Differentiating intuition from impulse is like learning to listen to your soul amid the noise of the world. Intuition doesn't scream. She whispers. She doesn't push. She invites. While impulse is like lightning, fast, uncontrolled, full of urgency. Intuition is serene, firm, and at the same time non-negotiable. It manifests itself as a certainty that you don't know how to explain, but you can't ignore it. The difference between the two is not how much it excites you, but how much it calms you. And knowing this distinction can avoid disastrous choices or awaken manifestations that you didn't even imagine were possible. The impulse usually arises from lack, haste, or comparison. It's a reaction. Intuition is an answer. The impulse wants to solve something now. Intuition already understands what will happen next. A practical example: buying something expensive to feel better is an impulse. Feeling that the time has come to invest in something that will change your life even when you are afraid is intuition. The impulse seeks immediate relief. Intuition seeks true construction. The rational mind confuses the two all the time, but the body knows. The body never lies. A simple and brutally effective technique for distinguishing the two is the pause test. When you feel that insane urge to act, stop, breathe, wait 24 hours. If the feeling remains strong, calm, and present, it is intuition. If it disappears or changes shape, it was an impulse. Napoleon Hill teaches that great decisions are not born from uncontrolled emotion, but from a trained mind, and the mind only becomes strong when you respect the time of feeling. True personal growth is born in this space between stimulus and response, and that's where wisdom lives. In fact, if you've made it this far, it's a sign that you're seeking this wisdom. So take advantage and leave your like on this video, because this helps YouTube deliver this content to more people who, like you, are tired of living in automatic mode. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, click there now and turn on notifications, because here we're talking about real transformation, the kind that starts in the mind and changes the external world. Now let's move on to something that almost no one told you about intuition. Another golden key is to observe the physical symptoms. Intuition doesn't tighten the chest. It expands. She doesn't make you panic. She gives you a strange confidence, even if you're still afraid. The impulse comes with tachycardia, sweat, anxiety, an almost childish rush. So when you're faced with a big decision, ask yourself, does this bring me peace or just excitement? True manifestation moves for peace. The successful mind feels this difference in the body and learn not to negotiate with the noise of the ego. There is also a silent pattern that distinguishes the two. Repetition. Intuition returns. It reappears in dreams, in random conversations, in everyday signs. The impulse disappears when it is not fed. He needs constant stimulation. Intuition, no. It remains. She is constant. She pursues you gently, but firmly. This is the most profound mental reprogramming. Starting to trust this subtle presence that seems to know more than your logic can ever understand. And when you start listening, everything starts to line up. And that's when a new dilemma arises. Even when you recognize your intuition, how can you remain firm once you've decided? How can you sustain your choice when fear tries to return, when others question it, when reality has not yet shaped itself to your vibration? This is when many give up. But there are techniques and truths that shield your decision and make you unshakable. Making a decision is an act of courage, but keeping that decision firm is an act of power. Because right after you decide, the world starts testing whether you're really committed. Doubts, distractions, and other people's comments appear. And if you don't have an internal anchor, everything goes back to square one. The mind begins to negotiate with fear, and when it sees it, the decision has already become a memory. This is where self-discipline comes in as a spiritual tool. It's not toughness, it's self-love in the form of action. Those who stick to their decision, even in chaos, are those who truly chose to change their lives. An extremely effective technique for supporting a decision is to create what I call physical proof of commitment. It could be a signed contract with yourself, a video recording declaring your choice, or even a symbolic tattoo. What matters is anchoring that decision in the real world. This triggers a deep sense of responsibility. The mind begins to understand. This is serious. And every time doubt comes, you'll have something concrete to remind you of who you've decided to be. Napoleon Hill would say, "A decision is a pact with your own greatness." Another brutally powerful practice is the daily reaffirmation ritual. Write your decision down on paper and read it out loud every morning. Include affirmations that support your success mindset. I am unshakable. My decision makes me stronger. Everything conspires in my favor because I chose it. Saying it with conviction changes your frequency. Positive thinking is not superstition. It is energetic recalibration. With each repetition, you install a new mental programming that transforms doubt into direction, weakness into focus, fear into movement. There is also the power of the environment. If you want to stick to a decision, eliminate everything that pulls you back to the old pattern. This includes people, content, habits. The mind is influenceable. If you have decided to get rich, stop hanging out with people who complain about life. If you have decided to start a business, read books like Think and Grow Rich or The Power of the Subconscious. Make your environment a constant reminder of the future you have chosen. Because if your surroundings don't support your decision, it will slowly dissolve it without you even realizing it. Another essential technique is emotional warfare planning. Knowing that difficult days will come, you anticipate them. Create emergency phrases for moments of weakness. It could be something like, "This is just resistance trying to test me," or "I knew this day would come and yet I decided to continue." This type of mental preparation prevents relapses, strengthens commitment, and it shows your mind that you're in control. Personal development is not made of brute force, but of simple strategies applied consistently. Also use the power of night viewing. Before going to sleep, imagine yourself living the result of the decision you made. Feel the emotion. See the details. Listen to the sounds. This programs your subconscious during sleep and strengthens your connection to what is to come. Manifestation becomes faster, and most importantly, your mind wakes up the next day more convinced, more ready, more armored. This practice is used by athletes, CEOs, artists, and it can be used by you, starting today, to keep the flame of decision burning. But, even with all these techniques, there is a final test. Life will provoke you with sophisticated doubts. It will put people who represent your old self in your path. It will give you reasonable reasons to back out. And it is at this point that you need to understand something profound. Your decision needs to stop being a choice and become your identity. And when that happens, a new you begins to emerge. But what does it really mean to make the act of deciding part of who you are? There is a point in life when deciding stops being an effort and becomes part of who you are. It's no longer about making a choice. It's about assuming an identity. The identity of someone who moves with clarity, even when the world is still confusing. The identity of those who do not wait for guarantees to act. When you see yourself as a decisive person, your mind stops seeking approval and starts seeking direction. You no longer ask if you can do it. You simply say, "I am that person now." And the universe responds to your conviction. Napoleon Hill said that success becomes inevitable when you act as if it were already yours. And this is only possible when the decision becomes who you are, not just something you try to do. Think about it. An athlete doesn't decide every day whether to train. He trains because he's an athlete. A millionaire person doesn't decide every month whether she's going to take care of her money. She takes care of it because she's a millionaire. The constant decision became identity. And identity is something that is sustained by habits, not by promises. Personal growth flourishes when your mind starts operating in this new code. Creating this identity starts with small daily decisions. Choosing to wake up earlier. Choosing to say no to what distracts you. Choosing to study, even when tired. Choosing to walk away from those who don't drive you. Each of these choices is an energetic signature telling the universe, "I am a strong decider." And the more you repeat this pattern, the more it solidifies. Self-discipline begins to emerge effortlessly. Motivation does not need to be sought. It comes naturally from the new frequency you carry. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Maintaining this identity will isolate you for a while. Because most people don't live with clarity. They live in fear. And when you start to decide firmly, it bothers you. It bothers those who are still paralyzed. It bothers those who project their failures onto others. But this is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you are becoming rare. And rareness is the first sign that something extraordinary is about to happen. Therefore, cultivate the pride of being someone who decides. Don't expect the world to understand. The one who needs to understand is you. Create internal mantras such as, "I am my decision. My power is in the choice I repeat. My identity is firmness in action." Repeat this until it becomes absolute truth within you. This is mental reprogramming. This is the manifestation of a new reality based on what you believe to be. And this is what turns desire into destiny. And if someone tries to divert you, smile. You no longer need to justify yourself. People who know who they are don't waste energy explaining decisions. They show results. And results come from direction. Direction comes from decision. And the decision, when it becomes identity, becomes a magnetic field. Opportunities arrive. The right people approach. Abundance sets in. Because you stopped being someone who tries. Now you are someone who and that changes everything. But even living with this firm identity, there is a ghost that can visit. Sometimes at night, sometimes in silence. A whisper that asks, what if I'm wrong? And that's when you need to know how to deal with post-choice regret without destroying everything you've already built. Repentance is a poison that disguises itself as wisdom. It appears as I should have done differently, but deep down, it's just guilt dressed up as logic. The mind begins to attack you with scenes from the past, recreating alternatives that never happened. And when you fall into this trap, you end up doubting even the decisions that made you grow. But listen carefully. Regret is not a sign of error. It is a sign of unrecognized learning. Napoleon Hill would say that every failure carries the seed of a greater benefit. And if you haven't seen this benefit, maybe you haven't looked closely yet. Every choice involves renunciation, and every renunciation generates mourning. This is natural. You stop living 1,000 possibilities to live one. And when reality starts to hurt, the brain tries to find someone to blame. And guess who he chooses? Yourself. But the truth is that no decision made with conscience was useless. Even the ones that hurt brought a kind of growth that wouldn't have come any other way. And knowing this gives you back control. Because now you no longer look at the past with weight. You look at it with reverence. One of the most powerful strategies for dealing with regret is to transform pain into clarity. Ask yourself, what did I learn that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't gone through this? Or, what version of me emerged from this choice? The answer may not come immediately, but when it comes, it will be like a light in the darkness. And this light will show you that the mistake was not choosing. The real mistake would be to have continued without deciding anything. Personal growth is not linear. It's made of curves, falls, and new beginnings. And that's exactly what makes you unbreakable. There is also the exercise of rewriting. Take a piece of paper and write the story of your choice, but from the perspective of whoever won. Change the meanings. Turn every loss into a hidden leap. Write as if you were narrating your own successful biography. This activates the power of the mind, displaces the pain, and installs a new narrative. Because what hurts you isn't what happened, it's what you tell yourself about what happened. And that, fortunately, can be rewritten. The mind is yours. The story is yours. And the command, too. There is also a detail that few realize. Repentance is selective. He ignores everything that went well and focuses only on what hurt. It's negative thinking disguised as analysis. But if you look honestly, you will see that many of your past decisions protected you, taught you, strengthened you. They brought you here. So why treat them as errors? The manifestation of abundance requires gratitude, including for what did not go as expected, because it was the unexpected that expanded your soul and prepared you for something greater. When you understand this, you begin to create a new pattern. Instead of blaming yourself for every choice you make, you begin to honor yourself for having had the courage to choose. You stop shrinking into the past and start expanding in the present. This activates a new magnetic vibration, and this frequency attracts solutions, people, paths. Self-help becomes self-power. Doubt becomes impulse. Life begins to flow. And that old regret? It becomes a step. It becomes a bridge. It turns into fuel. You stop looking back and start moving forward more steadily. But then the question arises, what to do now with this new awareness? How can we transform this clarity into concrete action? There is a secret that few use, and that can accelerate your results in an almost miraculous way. Something that happens when you act immediately after a true decision. And that's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. When clarity arises, the universe gives you a window, and it doesn't stay open forever. That's why acting fast is so powerful, because the moment you feel certainty isn't random, it's sacred. It's life's response, saying, "Go now." But most hesitate, doubt, think too much. And this delay is costly. Napoleon Hill said that decision without action is just an illusion. And he was right. Because when you feel the right impulse and don't act, the fear comes back with double the force. Clarity needs movement. Otherwise, it becomes confusion again. There is a type of energy that only appears in the first few minutes after a true decision. It's like a rocket about to take off. And if you don't press the button, everything gets cold. This initial energy is perfect for taking the first step. It doesn't matter the size. Send a message, make a call, write the plan, leave the house. The important thing is to break the inertia. Because the first act, no matter how small, changes the frequency of your reality. It shows the universe that you're not just thinking, you're moving. That's the secret of people who seem to manifest everything with ease. They don't wait to be ready. They feel, decide, and act. Manifestation is fueled by trust, not guarantees. When you move in faith, the path begins to reveal itself. It seems like a coincidence, but it's a consequence. Quick action is like a request made with authority. It's confirmation that you are not testing the universe. You are summoning your new reality. And this has an immense energetic weight. Use the 5-second technique. He thought, count to 5, and do it. Don't let rational thinking sabotage you. Don't let fear organize itself. Because the mind will try to convince you that waiting a little longer is smart. But it's just disguised sabotage. The more you hesitate, the more clarity becomes doubt. And the more doubt, the less action. It's a cycle. And the only way to break it is to decide that your will is worth more than your comfort zone. There is also a powerful hack, announcing your decision. Say it out loud to someone you trust, or even post it on social media if applicable. This creates a public commitment, and human beings tend to move when they feel that other people are watching. Use this to your advantage. Make your decision real, with action, visibility, and presence. Because visible action generates visible energy, and visible energy attracts visible results. Most dreams die in the transition between "I want" and "I started," not for lack of talent, but due to lack of initial momentum. If you take concrete action in the next 24 hours, everything around you will begin to reorganize itself. New people will emerge. New ideas too. Signs will appear. Because the universe understands the language of movement. And if you start, you unlock a new sequence of events. It's the domino effect of rapid action. But now that you're moving, a new question begins to shine in the back of your mind. Are there real cases of people who decided firmly, acted quickly, and completely changed their lives? The answer is not only yes, but it could also be the inspiration you needed to take the next step. Some of the greatest transformations in history began with a single decision made in silence. No audience, no applause, no guarantees. Just a firm choice and an absurd confidence in something that didn't yet exist. A brutal example of this is Sarah Blakely. She sold fax machines and made a poor living, but decided to create something different. A waist trainer that no one had ever made. The family laughed. Friends doubted. She had no capital, no contacts, no knowledge of fashion. But he had an unshakable decision. Today, she is a billionaire. That's not luck. It's firmness applied. Another shocking example is that of Steve Harvey. Before his fame, he slept in his car, in debt, not knowing what to do. But he decided he would be a comedian. He decided that he would live off his own voice, even when he didn't even have anything to eat. He made jokes in empty bars, picked up rides, heard no from all sides. But he didn't go back. The decision was stronger than doubt. And the universe, sooner or later, obeys those who don't negotiate with their own dreams. Today, he inspires millions, all because he decided to act, even in chaos. In Brazil, we have the case of Geraldo Rufino, a former can collector. He lost everything 7 times, but each time he fell, he decided to get back up. And he didn't just decide. He acted. He set up a recycling company and transformed his reality. Today, it is a reference in entrepreneurship and success mentality. This proves that personal growth doesn't depend on where you start. It depends on where you decide to go. Manifestation doesn't happen because you deserve it. It happens because you sustain the right decision until the end. These stories have something in common. They all began with what Napoleon Hill calls a definite decision of purpose. It wasn't just any desire. It was a conviction, a certainty without proof, a faith that bordered on stubbornness. And it is this type of decision that the universe respects. When you say, "I will," and sustain that "I will," even without immediate results, something changes. Because now you're not asking, you're commanding. And when you lead with soul, the world responds. There are also anonymous stories. Ordinary people who decided to lose weight, start a business, change country, write a book, leave a toxic relationship, leave their job, go to therapy, start over. Small decisions in the eyes of others, but giant ones for those who make them. It is these decisions that shape a new destiny, that create a new identity, that awaken the true power of the mind. Because what defines you isn't what happens to you. It's what you decide to do with what happens. All these people felt afraid. Everyone doubted for a few seconds. But they followed. Because the regret of not trying is always heavier than the fear of failing. And when you act despite fear, something awakens inside you. A strength you didn't even know you had. This is where self-help turns into practical action. That positive thinking becomes tangible reality. That personal development stops being reading and becomes biography. And if all this is possible for them, why wouldn't it be possible for you? The only thing that separates those who live an extraordinary life from those who repeat the same cycles is a firm decision. The courage to commit to what you don't yet see. But what if I told you that there is a type of decision that transforms everything faster than any other? A decision that is at the root of every achievement, every lasting success, and every personal revolution. Every achievement begins with a bold choice. A moment when someone looks into the abyss of doubt and says, "I'm going anyway." This is the courage that transforms lives. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. It's when the heart beats hard, the mind falters, but the feet move. Napoleon Hill taught that the courage to decide is the foundation on which all empires were built. Nobody gets to the top by luck. He arrives because he decided to go to the end, even when everything said, "Come back." True courage doesn't appear in speeches. It appears in actions. It's the single mother who starts a business. It is the young person without support who enrolls in a course. It is the unemployed person who invests in his own talent. He is the one who breaks patterns, silences external voices, and decides that his life will be written by his own hands. It is these silent acts that open invisible doors, that attract the attention of the universe. Because when you act with courage, the energy around you changes, and the world has no choice but to follow this new vibration. Courage is not something you find outside. It's something you activate within. She lives hidden behind years of fear, trauma. What if it goes wrong? But when you decide to dig deep and draw from that soul strength, everything starts to fall into line. The signs appear, ideas sprout. The path reveals itself step by step. The demonstration begins to accelerate. And wealth, abundance, professional growth are no longer a distant fantasy. They become a real possibility, all because of a decision steeped in courage. But be careful. This courage is not born by magic. It feeds on your why. When the reason is strong, the fear weakens. So ask yourself, why is this non-negotiable for me? Why do I need to change? Now? What's at stake if I don't act? These questions bring no comfort. They bring truth. And the truth, however uncomfortable it may be, is fertile ground for personal development. Those who live running away from discomfort will never find the power of the mind that lives dormant within them. There is a unique energy that only appears when you burn the bridges, when you decide you won't go back, no matter what. This firmness creates a force field around you. People notice. Opportunities arise. Synchronicities explode. Because you became a magnet, a vibrational reference point. You stopped being someone who waits and became someone who attracts. And this difference changes not only the results but your very identity. The courage to decide redefines who you are. She changes her posture, her look, her energy. It repositions you in the world. And the most incredible thing, when you make decisions with courage, you give others permission to do the same. You become a lighthouse, reference, inspiration. And that That's worth more than any applause, any validation, any medal. Because now, you're not just achieving things, you're conquering yourself. And that is the biggest victory of all. But before all this begins, there's a silent choice that separates those who transform their lives from those who repeat the same patterns forever. And that choice can happen now, here, at this very moment. The only question is, will you decide? Or are you going to watch this all go by once again? Now that you know the real power behind a firm decision, the question remains, what are you going to do with all this? Are you just going to silently agree? Or will you finally rise up and transform your reality? How many times will you allow doubt to dictate the rhythm of your life? How many dreams will you still postpone waiting for a security that never comes? The time for hesitation has passed. What is before you now is a watershed moment. Either you decide, or watch life push you into another cycle of repetitions. What is stopping you from taking action? What do you need to break today? Who do you need to cut ties with? What do you need to assume once and for all, without fear of seeming crazy, exaggerated, or hasty? Because those who decide with courage are never understood at the beginning, but are applauded at the end. Comment below, what is the decision you know you need to make, but have been putting off for too long? He writes, take over. Declare. This could be the first act of manifesting the new version you want to live. And if this content made sense to you, if it touched something inside, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications because, in the next videos, we will continue breaking the invisible blocks that prevent you from living with abundance, direction, and courage.